Hello everybody, it's your ghoul, Pony, and today we're going to be discussing the new Monster High Pride comic. This comic is the first full issue of the new IDW series to release, but it's not technically issue 1. This is considered a holiday issue and a one-shot. Issue number 1 will be released later in August. However, this issue is still in the same continuity as the rest. This will contain spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to pop back after you've read the comic. I was really buzzing at the bolts to get this issue. I think I've mentioned before that I've always wanted a proper Monster High comic series, so seeing it actually happen was super exciting. This issue is split into 2 separate stories. The first story being about Toralei and Claudine, and the second story being about Spelden and Valentine. These are both written by different authors and illustrated by different artists, which will be a little bit important later. I will be discussing them in order, but before I get started, I want to clarify here that any critiques I may have are not meant as a slight towards the people who worked on them. I always want to make sure that I am being kind and constructive in my discussion, but that I am also being honest with you all in my reviews. With that being said, let's get into it. The first story is called Summer Fang Out, and revolves around Toralei and Claudine getting bored of all the places to go in Salem, and deciding they want to create their own special place in the woods where their friends can hang. Off the bat, I think this is a really fun idea. As somebody who grew up in a really small town and still lives in a decently small one, I 100% relate to the feeling of wanting to get out of the house, but having already gone everywhere that there is to go in this week alone. I've always imagined Monster High Salem as being a rather rural area, so I feel like this makes sense. One of the things that made it a little difficult for me to get into this story was, unfortunately, Claudine and Toralei themselves. I know that some people are really against the idea of them as a couple, and I'm actually not one of those people. I think that with the proper development, they could be really interesting. However, in this story, we're not given any context as to how they got together, which is a little jarring considering that this is the first time that we're seeing them as a couple, or seeing any hint of romance between them. By the end of G1, Toralei was on better terms with most of the ghouls than she had been previously, but I still think that there's a decent jump from that to her and Claudine being fully in a relationship. I really wish that they'd taken some time to show the reasons why they were drawn to each other. This issue introduces us to another couple that's composed of fully original characters. These are Jackie Lope and Bridget Roll. I really like these two's designs, and I think their dynamic is very cute. Unfortunately, or not, depending on how you look at it, I kinda feel like they steal the show here. Jackie Lope's design is totally adorable. It reminds me a lot of something the doll customizer Delightful would make. And I really like that Bridget's style is less traditionally feminine, as well as the fact that she is a character who's more muscular and tall. Although, this does make it kind of funny seeing her next to Abby later on. For these two, it actually is explained how they got together, and while I love that for them, it feels kind of weird to have that storytelling put into them, but not the main couple. Especially since these two are introduced as already being together, whereas when we first met Claudine and Toralei, they didn't like each other. So there's a bit more of a gap that you have to cover to really sell people on the idea of that. I do want to say that I'm still kind of holding out for the possibility that this will be explored in the main series, but since this issue and the free comic book day issue are all that we have for now, this is all I can go off of at the moment. This story also has a B plot running alongside the A plot. The B plot consists of Gulia and Kirsty having a fang fiction battle over which of their favorite characters is the best. This ends with a moral about how there's room in fandoms for different people to enjoy different things. It's a nice sentiment, and pretty apt for the Monster High fandom, as if you've been here recently, you probably know things can get a bit batty real fast. The story is cute, and it's nice to see Kirsty again. She was definitely not on the list of characters I was expecting, but I don't really feel like it has much relevance to the A-plot. It doesn't tie into Claudine and Toralai's story, and it doesn't seem to be Pride-related either. I liked it, but I feel like it may have been better suited to a different issue, and that the page space could have been used to better flesh out the main characters instead. One thing that's interesting to me about Kirsty being involved is that Kirsty's parents actually study the Builders. And you'll remember that in issue 1, we will be seeing another Builders-related character. I doubt this was intentional, but I just love making connections. As for the art, I really like the style. There's a lot of fun expressions and plenty of panels that I am sure will be used as profile picture fodder. Time of recording, I've actually already seen at least one person with a Jackie profile picture. Overall, I liked the story, although I did wish for a bit more context. I really hope that we see Jackie and Bridget again sometime. Also, now we have an official Monster High version of Wattpad, which is hilarious to me. The second story, I Put a Spell on You, is about Valentine enlisting Spelden to help him make a potion that will turn him emotionless. While writing that, I'm realizing that although the comic itself doesn't mention it, that's kind of an interesting parallel to what Valentine was trying to do to Draculaura in Why Do Ghouls Fall in Love. Oh, how the turntables. Anyway, Valentine is increasingly frustrated about how difficult emotions can be, especially now that he's trying to apologize and be friends with Draculaura, but feels like he's just messing all of it up. Spelden thinks that the no emotion potion is a bad idea, but reluctantly helps him anyway, though it turns out this help was all just a facade to try and get Valentine to realize how silly the idea was. Overall, I enjoyed the story the most out of the two. It feels a lot more focused and streamlined than the other one, and I really love Spelden and Valentine's characterization here. I think their dynamic is so cute, and the humor that's incorporated into this issue is fantastic. I think the standout joke for me was Valentine saying that the roses he had would be dead soon anyway. Like his soul. He really is an emo vampire. I love Spelden's design and personality, and the art in this story was so expressive. There's a lot of silly faces and dynamic scenes, and hey, an Elizabeth cameo. I especially like this panel of Valentine being a #cringefailloser. This issue made me really excited to hopefully see more of these two in the rest of the series. A detail that I really liked was when Spelden asked Valentine why he always talks with a fake southern accent, and then notes that Val doesn't do that around him. I think this was such a good way to show how comfortable he is around him, that he doesn't feel like he has to put on these pretenses that he does with everybody else. If I had to choose one small nitpick, it would be that I find it slightly unrealistic that Draculaura would be so willing to befriend Valentine again so soon. However, Valentine has been shown to be a totally different monster now in at least 3 pieces of media, and Monster High normally errs on the side of befriending former villains, so I think in the long run it's pretty par for the course. There's definitely some MH movies with even more unrealistic former villain forgiveness, so I'll give it a pass. At the end of the story, Valentine realizes that emotions aren't so scary when he's with Spelden, and the two end up basically confessing their feelings and holding hands. It's a sweet ending to a sweet and funny story. As a first issue, I think this is a pretty good start. There's a couple of things that could be more polished, but that's really not unusual for the first episode of anything. I'm definitely looking forward to the next issue. You all know that I can't wait to see my faves in August, and hopefully I'll be able to continue covering them for you. One final lighthearted thing I have to say is that I don't understand why the limited edition variant for this issue looks like a coloring page. I would assume that it's so you can color it, except for it's a $25 limited edition issue, so I don't think anyone who's gonna buy it will actually do that. I guess it's just a stylistic choice, but it does not make sense to me. So, my questions for you all are, what did you think of this comic? Which storyline did you prefer? Which variant of the cover will you get? And when you read Valentine's lines, do you hear them in his fake southern accent or his whiny loser baby voice? Please let me know in the comments, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.